Hello and welcome to our property damage vlog on deliberate and potentially fraudulent fires. I'm Rosemary Scott, an associate here at BLM, and I'm joined today by Mike Ledgerton from Questgates. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks, Rose. Yes, I'm Mike Ledgerton and I'm the head of major and complex loss at Questgates Chartered Loss Adjusters.
Today, Michael and I will be discussing fire claims and in particular, deliberate and potentially fraudulent fires. According to data from the ABI, fire is one of the most expensive types of property insurance claim, with 1.3 billion being paid to customers during 2018. Whilst the majority of these claims are not fraudulent or do not involve deliberately set fires, it is important that everyone who's involved in fire claims are aware of a number of key issues. So going on to the first topic, is there any particular sector that is at particular risk of deliberate fires, or is it more across the board?
I don't think there's any particular sector that's at significantly more risk than any other sector. Obviously, any business that's under significant financial strain will be at risk. COVID has obviously had a devastating impact on a number of businesses across a large number of sectors, and has been the straw that broke the camel's back in a number of cases. But there are issues that predate COVID, such as Brexit, the well-documented demise of the high street as more retail goes online, which obviously is something that's been accelerated by the COVID lockdowns. And so there's other factors that have led to more vacant properties, and those vacant properties being at risk of fire.
Yes, as you say, empty properties are always more susceptible to deliberate fires. I mean, what are the sort of key reasons for that, do you think?
There's a number of reasons. I mean, empty premises are more susceptible, because they're empty. There's nobody looking after them. There's little or no security. Alarm systems won't necessarily still be in place. The empty properties are attractive to certain types of people who may be using the property without authority to do so. While there will be some deliberately started fires, there's also an increase in accidental fires in these properties, and we've seen cases where fires have been started by homeless people, for example, who've started fires to keep warm or cook, and then these fires have got out of control. Empty properties will also present opportunities to those involved in things like cannabis cultivation, where they see a property. I mean, they need power, so there'd need to be power stored to the property, which is not a good idea to leave empty properties with power on. But where there's cannabis cultivation, then they're good at growing cannabis, but their electrical skills are not necessarily up to the same standard, and systems get overloaded, and electrical fires are relatively common.
Yes, I mean, I suppose if you've got a property that the cannabis cultivators can see is no one's going there, it's it passes under the radar. You can see the attractiveness. I mean, with deliberate fires, what are the particular problems that are caused by such fires?
Yeah, I mean, there are some specific problems. I mean, but not all the problems are exclusive to deliberate fires, and there are similar themes that apply to all fires, whether deliberate or not. But deliberate fires are much more likely, just by the nature, to involve the use of accelerants or multiple seats of fire, which can lead to a more rapid spread of the fire, meaning that the fire is much more advanced by the time the fire brigade arrive, and therefore the damage is going to be greater. Discovery of fires in empty buildings is also likely to be delayed because there's nobody around, which again leads to the fire developing more by the time of the fire brigade's arrival. Yeah,
and I mean, one thing that occurs to me is with an unoccupied property, or that there's we're not talking about a domestic property where there's people present. Do you think that has an impact on how the fire brigade look to tackle such fires?
Yeah, I mean, certainly for the larger fires, and I've no particular stats to back this up, but the observation from my own experience and anecdotal evidence is that the fire brigade will nowadays adopt a more defensive firefighting strategies, and quite sensibly don't commit firefighters into burning buildings like they perhaps once used to. And that their focus now is more on restricting the spread of the fire to adjoining buildings. So, as a result of that, buildings can be sacrificed when previously they may have been saved, or at least not damaged so badly. And you know, we've absolutely no criticism of the fire service here. I mean, they do a fantastic job, and I certainly wouldn't want to be rushing into a burning building. So you know, the preservation of life is the main.
Absolutely, yes. Taking into account the fact that there's not, you know, if someone's going to set a fire, there's probably, you know, little you can do to you know, completely eliminate the risk. But are there any sort of mitigation measures that can be taken? You know, security, for example.
Yeah, I mean, you could. Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, assuming it's not the policyholder themselves that are setting the fire, but to, you know, stop other people deliberately setting fires. Yeah, you could have increase or maintain security on buildings, but the part of the problem there is that if the building is empty because the business has failed, the additional cost of that security is unlikely to be sustainable to that business. The insurers are in the business of managing risk and preventing loss, and you know they will achieve or try to achieve that by putting policy conditions on policies, particularly with regard to unoccupied properties, and things like regular inspections, cutting off electric and gas supplies, sealing of openings, things like that. You know, it may help to minimise or mitigate the number of fires, but it won't eliminate them, particularly where a policyholder is involved. And if a policyholder wants to set fire to their building, there's very little you can probably do to stop them. Although the way the policy is written, and that may well help to deal with the claims when they do come in.
I suppose it's about making it as difficult as possible for persons unknown to set a fire, but
exactly.
And then protecting insurers for in other scenarios. Okay, we sort of touched there on fires that are deliberately set by or at the behest of uninsured. What are the key issues to look out for then? And again, noting that this isn't probably exclusive to fires only.
No, I mean, there's a lot of things that you look out for on any claim, and never mind whether it's a deliberate fire or not. And there are lots of different things that could lead to a suspicion of fraud or policyholder involvement. And individually, they might not mean anything, but when you've got a number of them put together, they can lead to you forming a picture that leads to a more detailed investigation being required. And the number of things to look out for, and see economic factors. Whether the business is under financial stress, which could be due to COVID or Brexit or any other. There's numerous reasons why a business might be under financial stress. There's the old sort of the classic ones of recent policy inception or recent increases in sums insured. That might be a sign that there's a claim being planned.
Yeah.
Some businesses, you might find that the only thing that's damaged, or the main thing that's damaged, is a load of obsolete stock that they couldn't get rid of. Which might be related to Brexit, perhaps. Other sort of things to do with the actual incident itself, I suppose, are things like if there's evidence of security systems being bypassed, or no forced entry to premises. The CCTV cameras conveniently switched off, or
pointing the wrong way.
Exactly, yeah. And also, what condition the property was in, and what plans the insured might have for a building, because with some derelict or unused, unoccupied buildings, that the site may be worth an awful lot more if the building is destroyed by fire than if it's not, if it still stands. So there may be some sort of reasons there for setting fires to get rid of a building that they don't want and is in the way of a development. Particularly if the building is listed and you want to get rid of that listing. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a lot easier to or a lot cheaper to rebuild and rather than refurb, and you can they can do what they want, and certainly that's we've seen claims where that's arisen in the past. I mean, what about social media? I mean, obviously there's a lot of it around. How much use can that be?
It can be, but it always has to be sort of taken with a dose of caution. As I mean, social media can be a mine of information, but a lot of that information is either ill-informed or it's malicious in origin. So, you've got to be careful, but it still can provide some information that you wouldn't have been able to get, sort of 5-10 years ago. You know, we still get anonymous tip-offs every now and then, but again, you have to be careful what you're being told, and they can be, you know, more of a problem than a solution, because if it's all very well somebody ringing up with some information, but if they're not actually prepared to sort of back it up and you know, put the money where the mouth is, it's you know, it can be.
It doesn't necessarily get you anywhere. And
no, it doesn't, but it can perhaps back up you know, if you've got an initial suspicion that something isn't right, it may well, you know, back that up, and it might point you in the right direction. So you can't just, you know, ignore them or discount them.
Thank you very much, Mike, for taking the time to talk to us today about deliberate and fraudulent fires and the key issues to consider and look out for. Thank you for watching our property damage vlog. If you have any questions in relation to the topics that we've discussed today, please do get in touch using the details on the slide. Please also keep an eye out for more content from BLM on deliberate and potentially fraudulent fires, which will be coming in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.